Back. More Final Fantasy. I'm here in Onrak. I'm gonna do Sunken Shrine again. Let's go. I'm in the barrel. It's totally not a barrel. It's a scuba diving machine. Anyway, instead of going to the right this time, I go to the left. Alright, I'm level 37. But this episode, talking about the game that comes up next in the docket. Blizzaga! Dude! Ugh. Oh, shit. Well... Shit. Hope I don't need those spells, then. Tales of Berseria. Oh, I'm gonna love talking about this game, alright. Tales of Berseria is the first Tales game that I really, really enjoyed playing. Not that I didn't try most of the others, but, it's more that the gameplay as devised and the story and the characters finally coalesce in a way that I prefer. Especially since I've tried stuff like Vesperia and whatnot, and it always kind of didn't really work for me personally. How's the best to describe it? I like the 2D style of Fantasia. I like the idea. It's a unique idea, but I think it doesn't lend itself to 3D because they went to the line mechanic and there's really nowhere to go. Because if you're stuck in a line, then it kind of... It doesn't feel natural in a 3D space. Fighting in a line on a 3D plane doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel right. It's the best way I would describe it. Is there a door? There's not. So I gotta go. Let's see if there is a door. No. Okay. So, it always felt to me like... Man, am I going the right way? Oh, I remember now. This is supposed to take me up. I remember. So, the line mechanics and stuff like Symphonia and whatnot, and other games, I think Xillia was also one that tried to use that. Vesperia did to an extent. Always felt kind of chintzy in the 3D space. So I never got far enough in those games. So then I was, okay, get invested in the characters or something else if the combat's not to my liking. I don't know. Other than, like, Tales of the Abyss, which was also good, and I kind of wish they had more... they had a remaster as well. I wasn't getting into the characters much either. And it always felt like an hour in, like I'm either liking this game or I'm not really feeling it. Recently, Vesperia, I did the same thing. Like, I tried to play it again on a stream, and I just didn't. It did not grab me at all. You know, the character designs were kind of bleh. It always felt really low budget for a game franchise that has the carte blanche that Tales does as like the third or fourth biggest one. Like, I get it. They're not from Dragon. They're from Namco Bandai. They're not, you know, they're not Final Fantasy. They're not Dragon Quest. They're not trying to be. But it never felt like, okay, if their character designs aren't working, if their characters feel kind of goofy and silly in a very childish kind of way, then I'm not feeling that either, and I'm already cold by some of the gameplay standards, then something's not adding up. And do I really like this franchise as much as like I'm supposed to? Right? Because it just seems like for everything that I want to like about it and invest in, stuff is just not adding up. The gameplay looks stiff. The characters are very hackneyed to an extent. The gameplay is, or the story is very basic. I'm not getting anything from, like, the overall vibe of everything just seems low rent, right? And I'm not coming that from mature, oh, blood, titties, and swearing. No, I'm talking, like, if they're trying to be funny, how would I describe it? Anybody ever watched an anime and felt this is trying to be funny in a very, very stupid way? And almost like it's insulting the viewer, as if you're made for teenagers and adults, but you're doing very childish, you know, haha, look at me, I'm funny, you know, at the camera. It's like winking at the camera kind of jokiness. It's hard to describe. It felt to me like Vesperia was kind of doing that, and I wasn't, like, thrilled by it. And I'm okay to it for an extent. I mean, even stuff like Persona does it sometimes. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying there's a level of, like, okay, when it needs to knuckle down and get serious, I'm not so torn up by the game being stupid that I'm just already torn out of it. I'd say Tales of Graces was one of the few times where I've heard it said that, like, Tales of Graces was, thank you, ambulance, I'm trying to make a point. It's 3:49 in the morning. What am I doing up at this time in the morning? And what are you doing? What's going on out in the middle of Minneapolis that necessitates an ambulance? Maybe I don't need to know. But I mean, Tales of Graces, which is also getting a remaster, which I'm happy about. Tales of Graces, going back, other than the original Tales of Fantasia, was one of the few times where I sat there and go, okay, it might not be the most amazing of experiences, but I'm getting something. It's hitting my sensibilities. Like, I think if I was into Tales when I was like 15 instead of 35 or 40, maybe the stuff that I was talking about a few minutes ago wouldn't be as pronounced, because my tastes may or may not have changed, if that makes any sense. Or if I was an early adopter of Tales and never stopped. You know, I would never know stuff like Tales of Asteria would be widely panned, or another game may or may not be everybody's cup of tea, or I would have tried like 20 or 30 different Tales games and I've been an early adopter and been nuts for it. But because I came in kind of late, I was kind of playing catch up to what everybody already kind of knew. It's like, yeah, the old games were kind of bad, they're kind of low budget, admittedly. They make a lot of money for what they are, gotta kind of accept that. But then something happened. Tales of Berseria happened. And the thing about Tales of Berseria and Tales of Arise to another extent I think what I was looking for from Tales and what I wasn't getting from any of the other games until these previous two, whether it's due to who was making them, because they've, gone through a couple of changes, and some people have said, like, the mid-era Tales games are doing a lot of the issues that are suffering from a lot of the issues I'm talking about. Or, their writing is here and there. Berseria did something unique. And they went full edgelord. In the best way possible. It wasn't like a game trying to be edgy for, like, Persona has some edge to it, but you kind of know going in that that's what it is. It never feels like they're trying to force the issue. Because they're a mature rated game. Some of the stuff in, like, Metaphor, same idea. It doesn't feel out of place. Catherine doesn't feel out of place because that's the tone that they almost always go for. Tales doesn't do that. Final Fantasy doesn't do that. They're more akin... Like, Dragon Quest almost never does that. They don't go edgelord. But Tales of Berseria goes full edgelord, but does it almost perfectly. Because they take the antagonists and turn them into the protagonists. So they're saying, what would happen in a perfect storm scenario? We've got this character who's been taken pretty much, and you'll see this if you haven't played it, basically be shit on by her life in every possible way. And you can still find some sort of redeeming quality in the villains, but not in the way you expect. So, they are irredeemable pieces of shit, too. So they frame the narrative as everybody's an irredeemable piece of shit, other than, like, 2 people. Right? So what happens when they go full bore for an entire game? And Tales does that. So that you have these characters, specifically Velvet, and honestly my favorite character is Eleanor, and I'll get into that more as the game progresses. Honestly, Eleanor would be very boring if it weren't for the style of game they were going for. If she was in a traditional Tales game, she would probably just be there. But because she acts as a counterpoint to all the insanity, and, Velvet and Magilu and Aizen and Rokuro and, Laufey said is, like, the one who she gravitates to, it'd be kind of funny seeing the shit that they do, and the way they go about it, is hilarious. Because everybody's an asshole. It's just, what level of asshole are you? Are you an redeemable piece of shit? Like, the best compliment I can give it is how self-aware it is. There was this bit where they're in a tavern. They meet this, like, information broker lady who knows who the fuck they are, and Velvet's like, you want to die or something? And she's like, oh, go ahead, try and stop me. I give you the information. What are you going to do to me? And then they stop each other for, like, a skid or something. And Rokuro says something like, well, that wasn't very nice. I guess we have to do something about it. And Velvet's kind of like, when have we ever been nice? It's just this deadpan perfect way. Because even Velvet's aware, it's like, we're not nice people. What the fuck? And then they meet, like, in a different town, they meet this priest who's saying, come make a confession and do whatever. And you can have every single person in the party take a confession, and some people are, like, nicer than others. But Velvet, Magilu, Aizen, and Rokuro basically scare the absolute piss out of that priest once he figures out who they are. And the game is just reveling in the absurd in a perfect way. They framed the the protagonists as unsympathetic. Oh, this is the final floor. Hooray. They frame them as unsympathetic, and they frame the bad people with reasonable motivations, at least one of them, but everybody else not so much, as just insane fuckers. So, then you add the gameplay, not, you know, visuals and gameplay and whatever, they're pretty basic, but free reign, free movement, you know, like a traditional action RPG, a free moving battle system, and it was the first time the Tales felt like really good to play for me for a while. And Tales of Arise to a lesser extent in almost every area, but I still felt like early game for that one, and I said this until like midway through, that like it was my second favorite Tales game, and it was tracking to be my favorite because of the visual splendor. The characters were pretty reasonable without going to the pure edginess that Berseria was going for. They just fumbled it near the end, right? But Tales was on a high, and I'm really glad that if, you know, I mean, I love playing Castlevania or Star Ocean 3 or something else, you know. But that's why I put those on the polls, because I don't know what's going to win, and I might get surprised someday. But I'm never sitting here going, I don't want to play any of these things. No, I want to play everything, right? But Tales of Berseria is like a perfect storm of saying, okay, after I'm done with Dragon Quest, let's go a lot more modern and play probably not everyone's favorite Tales game, but widely regarded as like the second or third best, you know, across the board. So, my personal favorite. So again, I'm really jazzed about the way this stretch is going to come soon. Anyway, speaking of stretching, let's stretch our legs against the Kraken. You humans do impress. I would not have thought to see you here. Don't ink me! But you really think you can defeat the Fiend of Water here in my own domain? Fools! These dark depths will be your tomb. Uh-huh. Oh! Okay. Wow, we found somebody that can actually kill me. Alright. Okay, 88. Okay, just keep hitting him. It's gonna take forever. Okay, so poor Vivi gets fucking demolished. Fair enough. I suppose that seems fair. Well, I still hit you anyway. Man, I love being able to ruffle stomp. It's so nice. I got to talk about Tales instead of struggling. What's not to like? Anyway. One more dungeon than the Temple of Fiends. Hooray! Making good progress. I don't know if I'm gonna end up fighting Wormek or not. probably not the best idea, but I'm not gonna force it if it doesn't happen. I can at least tell you where he shows up. I'll give it the old college try because I can quick save. Anyway, next time you see me, I'll be at the pyramid. We'll be at the Sky Fortress dungeon. And, yeah, close to finishing those levels. Holy shit. 4 times experience. If you want to see how much of a difference that makes, 2 dungeons I gained 15 to 16 levels. Kind of absurd. But I'm happy with it. So, yay, I shall take a break, and I'll see you next time.